Fmtv Interviews. And today, my friends, we have a special guest of mine, a man with impeccable teeth. He's a mild-mannered politician and old school buddy of mine, Mr. Warren Waddell.
Good morning, FUTUREMAN. Thanks for having me on your program.
It's okay, is he speaking like a robot? Yeah. Now, Warren, what is it that you do or didn't do? And can you explain a little bit? Because I know he's a man of many talents, but he, like any good superhero, he has two things going on.
Oh, at the very least, FUTUREMAN or Superman.
There's no Superman, man. Where's the red undies?
I've got that image still in my head of your assistant.
No, that's my worst identity crisis moment, to put on red pants. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, so it's fair to say that over the years I've had a lot of various interests in small business. I'm still currently engaged in a small business with family members, but as you're aware, I'm also a local government representative, so I find time to blend the two.
That is so fucking official, Warren. Things have changed, but folks, you know, we went away for a holiday at the beginning of the year and we came back to this mess. Anyway, you know, you had some farming issues that were going on, and you know, tell us what's a typical day today, you know, with, well, is there a councillorship? You know, I know you got your farm and etc. going on, but you know, roll out your day now.
Okay, well, we've just come through the last couple of months where I have to juggle the commitments of the family business, and of course we've had to deal with the coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic. So that's been a game changer for how we engage with our customers.
Just pause right there. What Warren's really trying to say is that his family are an institution out of who run many businesses. Hence, yeah, you wanted a career in politics after that, because it was the fitting thing to do. What else could you achieve except going to politics, Warren?
Yeah, look, that's been my genuine interest for a very long time. Once leaving high school and going on to Macquarie University, I studied political science so that I could at some point in time give something back to the community, and what would be most people's nightmare, listening to local complaints ranging from footpaths, drainage, weed control, garbage, etc.
Graffiti artists.
Graffiti
How
artists.
dare they?
Oh, they're of a particular interest.
Eli's
to
a
me.
graffiti artist, our other friend, but
yes, I
you
was
didn't know that.
interest as Eli defaced many a site. But, you know, that what would be most people's nightmare is my desire. I actually enjoy very much inviting the concerns of the community and addressing them in the best way that I can.
Politicians are normal people, folks. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen Warren, I've heard Warren at 4 a.m. in the morning. This is Warren speaking, you know, to people. This is what a politician goes through, and this is a dismissed fact in political life. You know, the dedication. You try getting a phone call at 4 a.m. in the morning, see how you feel. Warren does.
I hope you're not inviting everyone to call me at 4 a.m.
Yeah,
in the morning.
but tell the audience, you know that phone call at 4 a.m. is to do with a women's shelter.
I do sleep occasionally, but no, look, you're right.
Talk about the women's shelter. That's important here.
A political role is not an average run-of-the-mill job with fixed hours. That is, to be fair. And like you suggested, when we were on a recent trip to Vietnam, we of course had some devastating storm activity in the local, in my ward, and
it's biblical, wasn't it?
Yep, it was pretty full on. Trees were down, power was out for many days, and look, you could do just the bare minimum and say you've clocked out for holidays and just return for the once a month meeting, but that's not what I'm about, and I try and make sure my phone's on for my constituents all of the time.
But this is what I'm talking about. This has changed your life politically. You know, Warren is such a people's person, but now that's been, you know, decapitated out of your roles. You know what I mean? It's all Zoom now. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's been quite difficult. You're right. I mean, we could perform the basics of our function via Zoom. We certainly have attended to a number of meetings.
But are you happy with that one? This is what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
you're a man, you're a people's man. This would
FUTUREMAN,
crush,
you know that I'm
this
not
would
happy
crush
with
his
that.
ego big time,
You know,
people.
I'm a face-to-face man of the people, and I'm afraid Zoom just doesn't quite do it for me. So I'm looking forward to a restoration of those previous arrangements, so that I can be, you know.
But that might not happen, Warren. This is the point.
Well, it's fair to say it's been a game changer. I think there'll be some reliance on electronic means of communication more so than ever before. But and look, the convenience of that is certainly very real, but it's just not the same, you know, as speaking to people.
Well, as
in a
you
normal
were, we talked about
face-to-face
this
meeting.
before, Warren. You know, as kids or as teenagers growing up, folks, texting was, look, we'll meet you at 11 o'clock. Be there, and you turned up. So the whole honour system was there as well. So we had that as teenagers. Now we're showing our age, Warren. But would you be upset with that?
Well, I'm not sure how old you are, FutureMan, but I'm
32.
Oh, well, then we're very similar. Yeah.
Okay, Warren. I know you're not going to take this lightly, but as a politician, but do you believe what's going on in the mainstream media with everything?
I do, FutureMan. I do. I have a lot of faith in the media. I know it's their role to, you know, pick out the most sensational components of a story and make the most out of it. But at the end of the day, I think that in this country, you know, we can rely a great deal on what the media has to say.
Really? Okay, Warren, you've given the most political. I can't floor you on anything at the moment, but I do want. We are living in a COVID world. There could be possible agendas outside of this. I just want him to consider this as a politician.
Yes,
You know, this is a dystopian world, Warren, and we were in the same year as 1984. Any feeling, Warren? Is there any feeling?
Well, what I think is interesting from this whole scenario is how relatively easy it was to shut down the world.
Clearly.
I mean, 1 minute we're all going about our business, you know, doing what we do, enjoying our leisure activities in our workplace, and then whether it has been a natural occurrence or otherwise, it demonstrates how vulnerable we are and our systems are and how we are thoroughly interconnected to the global environment.
He means herding people. This is what they call herding.
So if you haven't learned something from what's just gone down and don't consider that in terms of our national security.
It's not just
in the
national
future.
security, Warren. It's like not everybody can do this for the rest of their lives.
No.
Do you know what I mean? This is what I was talking to you about as children growing up, that you went out and did things. You went out and broke a leg. You went out and you made decisions. What's happening at the moment, I see, is the youth not making decisions because they don't have to.
No, and I think that's another thing that we've witnessed throughout this recent event is that it's an interesting blend of individual leadership but with collective decisions, which is not something that is always a harmonious marriage.
Oh, well, this is what I wanted to say to you too. It seems to me that community politics or community administration of funds, you know, what we give to federal governments or, you know, IRSs or the alike, is that, do you think the model would be better if it was everything was controlled community-wise? Because it has definitely become like we are obeying Big Brother, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's where people have difficulty, is that there's not a one-size-fits-all. I mean, there's elements of political life where you know, broad democracy is appropriate. There's elements of political life in the political environment where you have put people in place to represent you and make those decisions as an individual, to show leadership. As always, the answer is usually somewhere in the middle.
That's admirable, Warren. I've got some money over here for
Like
you.
that? Well, I'm sure my advisors tipped you into my appearance fee earlier.
Just a moment. Yeah. At the moment, as we speak, folks, there is not one death in Vietnam from COVID. And Warren and I have got some theories, or we experienced some things in Vietnam. You know, their tenacity, their, you know, what would you say, Warren, of our experience here in those terms, you know, and it was a real eye-opener. America, sorry, you lost.
Look, let's face it. This recent pandemic has been a test for all political models. I think you're right. When we were in Vietnam, we saw an interesting blend of a degree of entrepreneurialism that we perhaps didn't realise was available to the
French quarters
to the population. However, there is that overriding communal approach and the to society, as has been tested over time, and how the resilience of the Vietnamese people has been galvanised to reach an
second
end.
to none. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Another example. They, yes, it's perhaps seen by our way of life as being less democratic, but then there's occasions when...
Well, they're not interested in gaining, are they?
Not for personal gain, you know.
They're not interested.
They're national interest.
That's right.
Yeah,
so even down to their garbage, where I said, how come there's 10 million people in Ho Chi Minh City?
Yes.
How come it's so clean? We remarked about that, and then we went to a cooking class, and we asked the girl had a university degree. She said, well, it's a communal effort. People just go out at night, unassumed, no sponsorship, no yellow bin, red bin or green bin, whatever bin.
They're offended by garbage.
Yeah.
So they walk along, they see garbage, they address it. It's a pride, a sense of civic pride that perhaps is lost in some societies, and we expect someone else to do it, you know.
To dig tunnels at night and take it in stealth by night to the river so there's no tracks. That's why America went blitzo against the place. They just blanket bombed the whole joint because they didn't know what they were fighting because they were getting popped off.
Yeah, it was difficult to isolate the target.
Now, Warren, I know you're going to enjoy this segment because it says everything. What I'm doing is I'm going to give you a platform. This is King Ruler segment, folks.
Amnesty.
Move in a little bit. Okay, step forward. Now go for your life.
Thank you, FUTUREMAN, for this opportunity. Look, it has been said that I'm quite opinionated at times, and that I tend to have the sense that I always know what's right. So I think my first move as King of the World would be to simply galvanise and consolidate absolute power, so I can simply just implement what I'd like to do all the time. And loud applause. I hope you've got
You've done good, mate.
You got that on tape, have you?
Yeah,
some
yeah,
applause.
You've done good, folks, eh? All right, well, that's fine and good, and you've had your little, 2 weeks at the top.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say
but
after about 14 days I'd be probably executed.
How do you see yourself in the future? Give me Warren Waddell age 20 years from now.
Oh, so like as I approach my 40s, I've given a lot of thought to what else I could do with the remainder of my life. I think that look, as opportunities open up where I can continue to support and assist.
We are living in a COVID world, Warren. I just want to remind you that.
Yeah, look, and it's taking me back. I mean, you'd appreciate this, FUTUREMAN, because you've sort of managed to bridge across generations. But it has that sort of almost Blade Runner, that reminiscence of people in lockdown in these cubes, where everything's electronic and voice activated and so on. It's a little bit daunting. But
well, it is, and that's what I talked about before, Warren. When we were growing up as kids, children would know about that these days. Is that you were told to be home before the street lights went on, and if you weren't, no dinner was served. That's what we grew up. Now today, it's what?
Yeah, there's certainly Steve Jobs got something to answer for. The future, you've got it's a continuation of trying to do your best to provide solutions. I'm a solution-orientated person. I'm happy to entertain.
You are the master of compromise.
Yeah,
the master of compromise. I thought I was, but you are the master. Well, you have to do, and I appreciate it. It is a skill, Warren.
Yeah, and it was a skill that doesn't come naturally to me. As I said, I quite like the idea of getting my own way, and compromise doesn't really sit well with that. But if you're going to get on in life,
clearly,
you've got to appreciate that all parties have a view, and they have to be considered. And if you can all walk away from the negotiation unhappy, it's a success.
Yeah. Look, all I could come up with it was 2.
Oh, look, FUTUREMAN, you know, that more than covers it.
That's what you give politicians, isn't it?
Thank you very much.
So, Warren,
FUTUREMAN.
what is it that you did once upon a time?
Look, I've had a very, what I feel is a privileged life to date. As you know, I come from northwest of Sydney. I've enjoyed owning and operating a number of small independent businesses, but in recent times I've been able to return to the family business, which you would be familiar with. That's I'm 5th generation of growers in the district, but of course I've...
and you grow.
And we grow. And I've blended that with a long desire to be in government. Or
I have to stop you there, mate, because I've got a light flashing. It might be you, but it might be me.
Oh, a light flashing.
Yeah, so I need to check that.